What's up guys, Christos here and welcome back for another video. Now in today's video I want to talk about side hustles and more specifically how to avoid burnout when starting a side hustle alongside your full-time job. Now, starting a side hustle can be one of the most rewarding things that anyone can start in their lifetime. Now, me personally, over the past 5 years, I have started multiple side hustles in my spare time, and it's now actually gotten to the point where my side hustles have actually become my full-time job, which is absolutely amazing. However, if you do not take this seriously and do things such as managing your time effectively, you can suffer from a thing called burnout, which could actually lead to you either giving up your side hustle and actually complications are a lot worse like that, such as anxiety and depression and not feeling good enough and stuff like that. These are all things that I have personally felt, and I've picked up some tips in the past to help me get over this and avoid burnout, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you right now. All right, so tip number one when it comes to avoiding burnout within your side hustle is to set realistic expectations. Now, if you are starting a side hustle on top of what is probably an already demanding schedule with your job, then you are likely going to have a lot of ambition, which is absolutely amazing. However, with a lot of ambition probably comes a lot of expectation, which needs to be managed effectively. Now, one thing that I did when I first started my side hustle was I set my goals way too far out of my reach, to the point where I almost needed a miracle if I was going to achieve them. Now, whilst this is all good and like ambitious and all that, it's not going to be achievable unless you get a miracle. So what I did after those mistakes in the first 2 years was I actually started setting some weekly goals and some monthly goals that were completely achievable. And then once I started achieving them and I went on, like, let's say a 5-win streak or something like that, I started to up the difficulty a bit. And this is really good because you are actually making progress with your side hustle or your new business. And this really does improve your mental health, and it actually makes you feel that you are making progress with your side hustle. Which actually leads me nicely into my second point, and that is not to compare yourself to anybody else doing the same thing as you. Now, once again, this is something that I personally did from the start. I used to look at people in my niche. I used to look at other YouTubers. I used to look at other Amazon sellers because they were two side hustles that I was doing. Obviously, I still do them right now, but at the time it was just a side hustle. And I used to compare myself as to how well I was doing up against them. The one thing I didn't know at the time was that everybody's situation is different. They had a lot more time than me, maybe they were doing it full time, maybe they had a lot more money behind them to do it. There are so many different factors that go into it. I'm not even going to go into how many there actually are that can actually influence as to how well somebody is doing. So the important thing is to never ever compare yourself. I would never compare myself to Gary Vee. Gary Vee's got a team behind him filming content every single day. There's no point me saying, why can't I film professional videos like Gary Vee, and why can't I release as many videos as him? It's a completely different situation, guys. So tip number two, do not compare yourself to anyone. Tip number three is to plan your time around the time that you can't change. Now, for most people, this is going to be planning your time around your job or your family. And the reason why I say around the time that you can't change, don't go and try and fit in your side hustle during the times that you have set out to spend time with either your family or the time that you should be at work, because this will just end up in a big mess. What I like to do is every single Sunday, I like to actually grab a calendar and I like to color code all of the times that I can't change throughout the week. So for example, one thing I used to do is I used to block all of my day job time, 9 to 5, out with a yellow marker, or on my Apple calendar as a yellow block. I used to then mark out my personal time in blue, and then all of my time between then was the time that I could use to build my side hustle up, and that's where I would plan my week like that. And I really recommend doing this, let's say on a Sunday evening. Plan your week ahead, look at how much time you actually have to work on your side hustle, and then what you can do is go back to number one and set your weekly goals based on that time. The next tip I have for you guys is to take regular breaks. Now, if your side hustle is based at home like most of mine, then it can be really easy that you can find yourself sat behind your desk constantly working, and before you know it, 3 or 4 hours had passed. Now, I'm no physical exception and I can't really give too much advice on that, but one thing that I've started to do recently is making sure that every 30 minutes I either get up for a walk, even if it's just around the house, or at least go downstairs and grab myself a drink. At least that way it's breaking up my day a little bit, and what this does is just avoids that burnout once again. You just stuck in a dark office behind a desk, just constantly working, and whilst that may sound all good and whilst you may achieve a little bit more than what you would if you were to take breaks over a long period of time, this is not sustainable. And trust me, coming from me, I have done that. I have spent hours at a desk in a dark room, and it only takes a couple of weeks and then you start to feel that burnout. It may feel okay whilst you're doing it, but please trust me on this one. Weeks or months later, depending on the situation you are in, you will get burnt out at some point. One thing I actually did at the start was I used to actually set an alarm on my phone for every 30 minutes. As soon as that went off, I made sure I went and grabbed a drink or went and made a phone call or just walked around the house or went outside for a little bit or something like that. And what you'll actually find is after a while, you will never even need that alarm because you will just naturally be doing it because your body has then become used to it. So really good tip there. Set an alarm every 30 minutes and make sure you do something that is not tied to your work in that time, just for like 5 or 10 minutes. That's it. Now, the next tip I want to give is slightly related to the one that I just mentioned, and that is to make sure that you have a dedicated day off every single week. Now for me, my dedicated day off is Sunday. It's just the one that works best around my personal life, but you could have it as any day that suits your situation the best. And on that Sunday, I just try to do everything that isn't anything to do with my job or my side hustle. The absolute max that I try to do is reply to some YouTube comments or some DMs on Instagram and stuff like that, because it doesn't really take much mental capacity to actually do that. So make sure you have a day off. This is so important when it comes to sustaining a long-term healthy relationship with your side hustle. You will not get burnt out because you are looking forward to that day off and you can reward yourself, especially if you've achieved your goals that week. It's really cool just to sit back, realize that you have had a really good week, you've achieved your goals, you've made progress with your side hustle, and just make sure you take that time just to sit back and just enjoy being on this planet as a human, because the chances of you being here is very, very slim and you only have one life to live. So make sure that you actually enjoy some time and do not get too consumed by your day job or your side hustles. Apart from that, I hope you did get some value from this video, guys. Make sure you hit the like button if you did. Leave me a comment as well, as I always try to reply to all of them, if not most of the comments in the comment section down below. And I shall catch you guys in the next video. Take care.